They told me to quit too while they were at it. My daughter messaged me saying she was heading to a farewell party, but just 10 minutes later, she came back home. She said someone had poured beer over her head out in the freezing cold. She was shivering when she walked in, and seeing her like that made me furious. I immediately called Mr. Miller, the president of her company, who was attending the farewell party. "Mr. Miller? Get over here in 2 seconds." Mr. Miller laughed off my words at first, but when I told him my name, his attitude changed completely. Soon after, Mr. Miller and Sarah, the supervisor who had looked down on my daughter, showed up, beads of sweat on their foreheads. The two bowed in a panic, but I couldn't calm my anger. I decided to deal out justice to both of them for the way they changed their behavior depending on who they were dealing with. My name is Robert Anderson. I'm 55 years old, living with my wife, who's the same age as me, and our daughter Anna. Anna turned 25 this year and has gotten used to her first job since graduating. She's not the type to express her emotions, and even when something upsets her, she tends to handle it on her own. I thought that if I stepped in carelessly, it might get in the way of Anna's growth, so up until now, I've made a point not to ask anything unless she brought it up herself. Lately, I felt like something's off with Anna. She doesn't seem to have much of an appetite, and there are faint dark circles under her eyes. I wondered if something was bothering her, but I couldn't bring myself to ask her carelessly. And then one day, something serious happened. It was the day her senior coworker Linda was retiring to get married. Anna worked with her in the administrative department and said Linda was well liked in the office. Anna admired her a lot and said she wanted to attend the farewell party. She usually avoids company events, so this must have meant a lot to her. Around 6 p.m. that Friday, Anna messaged me to say she was heading to the farewell party. Of course, I told her to go and reminded her not to stay out too late. But about 10 minutes after she sent the message, Anna, who was supposed to be at the farewell party, came back home. I was surprised to hear the door my wife was home, so it had to be Anna. Wondering what was going on, I peeked out from the living room toward the front door. There she was, Anna, with her hair soaking wet. "Hey, what happened? Your head's soaked. Get in here and dry off. The heat's on." "Yeah, sorry." "What are you apologizing for? Just warm up before you catch a cold." While she was in the bath, I made her some hot tea and waited in the living room. After changing into pajamas, Anna came back. "So, what happened? Why'd you come home in that state on such a cold day?" "Yeah." The shocking sight made me bombard Anna with questions without thinking. She didn't seem to want to talk, just gave short replies and said nothing more. Still, something felt off to me. When I passed her at the entrance, I caught the smell of beer on her. It wasn't just the smell of someone who had been drinking, it was like she'd been soaked in it. That's why I wanted to know what had happened, and more importantly, how Anna felt about it. Sorry for asking so much at once, but when you're ready, I'd like you to talk to me. I'm on your side. If something happened, I want to know. Then, Anna began to cry as she slowly opened up. "They told me to quit too while they were at it." "You mean at the farewell party? Who said that to you?" "My boss Sarah and Mr. Miller. They said I'd be better off gone, that I was just dragging everyone down, that even my presence was a burden." As she spoke, large tears streamed down Anna's face. I pulled her close and handed her a tissue. Once I got the full story, I realized something outrageous had happened at that farewell party. Anna had headed to Linda's farewell party, but it seemed she was held up by some overtime work. By the time she arrived about 30 minutes late, most of the others had already started drinking. And the seat Anna ended up in was directly across from the company president, David Miller. Apparently, it was the only seat left. Next to her sat her supervisor, Sarah. Sarah, 32, had recently transferred into Anna's department. Mr. Miller, 52, has one daughter. Both of them appeared kind on the surface, but for some reason, they were always unusually harsh toward Anna. Others around her had noticed it too and seemed genuinely concerned for Anna. But since the person involved was the company president, No one felt they could speak up directly. And then, as soon as Anna arrived, the words thrown at her were, "You should quit too." Already drunk, Mr. Miller told her she should leave the company. Anna's supervisor, Sarah, jumped on Mr. Miller's remarks and began insulting her as well, calling her useless, saying she made too many mistakes, and even claiming that her mere presence brought down the mood in the room. Every time Anna repeated what had been said, my chest tightened with pain. "Have they been harassing you for a while? I've had a bad feeling ever since Sarah was transferred into your team." "Yeah, I think it started about a month after she joined. She suddenly became really harsh with me, even started hiding my personal things." "That's awful. Do you have any idea why she'd do that?" I asked, but Anna just shook her head slowly after thinking for a moment. Apparently, things had been fine at first. She had even gotten along with Sarah. She didn't have much interaction with Mr. Miller either, just polite greetings in the hallway. Despite that, both of them suddenly changed their attitude. Sarah especially had begun verbally abusing Anna every day. On top of that, she told Anna the wrong times for meetings and withheld updated project materials. In any case, the constant stream of subtle harassment wore Anna down, and it had begun to take a serious toll on her mentally. As I listened to her, I realized my gut instinct had been right all along. There was a reason Anna had seemed so down lately. But that wasn't the worst part. Anna told me Mr. Miller poured beer on her head. "What? Why would he do something like that? Pouring beer on someone's head isn't something you do lightly. I don't even know when I said I didn't want to quit. Sarah got angry, and then Mr. Miller saw it and poured beer on me. I don't even know what to say. Just give me Mr. Miller's contact info." When I said that, Anna shook her head. She probably didn't want to drag this out any further. But if we left things as they were, she'd just keep suffering. I know she's an adult, but this was too much to let slide. If Anna had actually done something wrong to provoke them, that'd be one thing. But from everything she told me, she wasn't at fault at all. She didn't even know why she was being treated like this. So I figured it'd be fastest to go straight to the source and ask them myself. "What do you want to do, Anna? Do you want to keep working there? If you do, you can't let things stay like this. Even if you quit, it'll feel like you let them win." "I don't know what I want yet, but yeah, I'd hate that." "Exactly. So give me his contact info. I'll take it from here." Anna thought about it for a while and finally gave me Mr. Miller's number. I entered it into my phone right away and hit the call button. The phone rang about 5 times. Then Mr. Miller answered. "This is David Miller. Who's calling?" "Mr. Miller? Get over here in 2 seconds." Mr. Miller, clearly caught off guard, didn't seem to grasp what was happening. Admittedly, part of the confusion was because I hadn't properly explained the situation. I was so furious about how my daughter had been treated that I'd forgotten to even introduce myself. "Yes, I am the president, but don't you think you should start by telling me who you are? I'm Anna's father. My daughter just came home soaked in beer and shivering from the cold. Care to explain what happened?" "Ah, you're her father. I apologize for that. But it is true that your daughter is incompetent, you know? Even if she were incompetent, that doesn't justify pouring beer on her or trying to force her to quit, does it?" Mr. Miller's blatantly condescending tone only fueled my anger even more. Even when I was listening to Anna earlier, I had a feeling this man believed his way was always right. That's likely why he could treat someone so cruelly and why he could sound so composed even now. In any case, I want to talk about this in more detail. Come to my house right now and bring that woman, Sarah, with you, the one who was also harassing my daughter. "What are you talking about? There's no reason for us to come to you. If your daughter is resigning, please follow the proper procedure." His clearly dismissive words pushed me past my breaking point. I had been restraining myself through all his arrogance, but this smug dismissal pushed me over the edge. I was beyond angry, and I let him know it. "That's enough. Don't forget I could cancel our contract with you." "Contract? What are you talking about? You can't just throw something like that at me out of nowhere." "Ah, I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Robert Anderson. I'm the CEO of N Corp, the company your firm has a contract with. I could feel the tension shift instantly, even through the phone. That's right, I'm the president of a company that does business with the firm Anna works for. In fact, the company I run is considered one of the biggest in the industry, and countless other firms are constantly vying to secure contracts with us. But due to budget constraints on our end, we can only partner with a limited number of companies. Mr. Miller's company had approached us multiple times in the past, but they lacked a decisive edge, so we kept postponing the contract. However, just a few months ago, the deal was finalized, and they officially became one of our business partners. I'd always heard good things about the company from Anna. Never in my wildest dreams did I expect she'd be harassed there. Now that Mr. Miller knew who I really was, I wondered what was going through his mind. My deepest apologies. I'll come immediately. May I have your address? You can figure that out by checking Anna's resume or whatever else you've got on file. Just hurry. I don't have time to waste. Understood. I'll confirm it and head over right away. I'll also bring Miss Sarah with me. After hearing that, I hung up without another word. When I looked over at Anna, her expression was a mix of surprise and sadness. I'm sorry if I startled you. Mr. Miller and Sarah are on their way here now. If you don't want to see them, feel free to stay in your room. No, I'll stay here. This is my issue too, and I want to know the real reason behind all the harassment. I see you really are your mother's daughter and mine. You're incredibly strong, but don't push yourself too hard. About an hour later, the doorbell rang. When I opened the front door, there stood Mr. Miller and Sarah, holding umbrellas and soaked from the heavy rain. We are deeply sorry for what happened. Please forgive our disrespect. This is just a small token of apology. Would you accept it? I also failed in my role as a supervisor. I'd like to sincerely speak with your daughter if I may. As they spoke, they offered a box of traditional sweets, famous in this region. But I didn't accept it. Let's not talk out here. Come inside. Yes, excuse us. Thank you for having us. They stepped into the house timidly. I guided them to the living room sofa. Anna and I sat on one side. Mr. Miller and Sarah took seats across from us. I asked you to come here for one reason: to explain your actions toward my daughter, starting with why you poured beer on Anna. That was, my hand slipped. I truly regret what I did. Anna, I'm so sorry. Anna, is what he just said true? No, not at all. I shot Mr. Miller a sharp look in response to his sudden lie. Still, he kept insisting it was just a slip of the hand. To be honest, I already knew he was lying, but I didn't have any solid proof. If we kept going down this path, it would just turn into a pointless argument, so I decided to change the subject. For now, let's put that aside. What about the harassment? I've heard there were constant verbal attacks and mistreatment. That's absolutely false. We would never do such a thing. Anna is a valuable team member, and we have no reason to treat her that way. That's interesting, because earlier on the phone, you called her useless. Was I mistaken? The atmosphere instantly grew even more tense. It seemed Mr. Miller, in his panic, had completely forgotten what he had said. I sincerely apologize. There's no excuse for that. Oh, so you're admitting it then? That you've treated Anna poorly? No, that's not what I meant. It's just that Anna has been difficult to work with. She makes frequent mistakes, and it's been tough for us to manage her. As he said this, Mr. Miller kept glancing nervously in my direction. Sure, Anna isn't perfect, but I've never thought she made the kind of mistakes that would warrant being called useless. While I was thinking this over, Anna, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. Dad, that's enough. I'm quitting this company. I don't need an apology. Wait, hold on a second. Don't you think you should take more time to think this through? Yeah, you shouldn't say something like that so easily. Mr. Miller and Sarah looked like they were worried about Anna, but it was clear they were only trying to protect themselves. Now that they knew I was the president of a major client, they wanted Anna to stay. If tension grew between us, it could impact the business relationship. That's why they were trying to stop her from leaving. Then why did I have to be harassed? Is it because I saw the two of you meeting in secret? Hey, what are you talking about? Secret meeting? That's ridiculous. I'm a married man. Yeah. What nonsense are you saying? Are you seriously accusing me and Mr. Miller of sneaking around? That's a wild accusation. At Anna's sudden claim, the two of them began sweating. Even I was hearing this for the first time. Apparently, Anna had seen them together in a compromising situation. She suspected they were having an affair. And the harassment began right after she witnessed one of their secret meetings. I saw you, after work in the break room. I made a noise out of surprise, and you noticed, didn't you? Cut it out. That never happened. Are you really accusing me and Sarah? That's slander. Slander? I'm just telling the truth. Would you like to see the proof? With that, Anna pulled out her phone. She played a video. On the screen were Mr. Miller and Sarah, embracing like lovers. How do you have that video? Were you spying on us? Spying? I was just trying to record a congratulatory message for a friend. While I was filming, I happened to catch you too. Still, filming something like that, just delete it. We'll talk after that. Then, the two of them tried to grab Anna's phone. I stepped between them. Now that it was clear the two were working together, there was no doubt the harassment was intentional. That's enough. What were you thinking? Aren't you ashamed of cornering someone as young as Anna? I don't care. You're a man, you should understand. Men always want younger women. I don't understand it at all. You have a wife and daughter, it's shameful. I'm in a similar position as you, but I would never go chasing after another woman. That's right. Mr. Miller and I are in similar situations. We both run companies. We both live with our wives and daughters. That's exactly why I couldn't understand Mr. Miller's actions at all. I'm afraid I'll have to reconsider doing business with your company. I don't want to let personal matters interfere, but this concerns trust. Why? That's a completely separate matter, isn't it? We just signed the contract. Canceling it over something like this is outrageous. Do you know why I decided to sign the deal so suddenly? It was because Anna passionately explained how great your company was. Yes, the reason I chose to do business with Mr. Miller's company was because Anna worked there. Right after she got the job, she began telling me how wonderful the company was. As a clerical worker, she had no obligation to promote it. But even so, she brought home brochures and asked me again and again, saying, "Please give them a chance." I didn't want to mix personal feelings into work, but her sincerity was impossible to ignore. And in the end, I agreed to sign the contract. At the time, based on what Anna told me, it seemed like a great company. But everything changed when Sarah joined. She had originally worked for another firm. Then, she joined mid-career and was suddenly given the position of assistant manager. Anna and the other employees were all surprised by the sudden promotion. On top of that, Sarah didn't do much of her own work and just kept dumping it on Anna. Naturally, Anna started wondering why Sarah had been placed in such a favorable position. So in the end, you were favored because of your relationship with Mr. Miller. Now I finally understand. What are you saying? That's ridiculous. I earned my position through hard work. If you're so jealous, maybe you should work harder yourself. No matter how hard I work, I'll always be at the bottom, won't I? Because you didn't like me, and you two were in it together. That's why I was treated so horribly, isn't it? Those words left Sarah and Mr. Miller speechless. It was clear now Anna had been caught in the crossfire for no real reason. To think she suffered so much over something that petty. As her father, I could only admire how well she had endured it. Please leave. There's nothing more to discuss. I'll be in touch later about the contract. Wait. Please don't cancel it. I'll offer a proper apology, and we'll change our behavior. You shouldn't be bowing to me. You should be apologizing to Anna, right? I've seen enough of who you really are. If you refuse to leave, I'll call the police. Hearing the word police must have rattled them because they left in a hurry. After that, I spoke with Anna about what comes next, and we went to bed. Next evening, I went to visit Mr. Miller in person to talk. "Oh, I'm truly sorry about yesterday. I never expected you to come here yourself. Please, take a seat. I'll get you some tea right away." "No need for tea. I'm just here for one thing." I handed him the contract termination papers. After hearing everything from Anna and thinking it through, I realized there was no way I could continue doing business with his company. He had an affair, and to cover it up, he harassed his own employee. A company run by someone like that can't be trusted. "Can't you reconsider the contract? This puts us in a very difficult position." "I'm fully aware of that, but what you've done warrants this outcome. Don't you think you'll regret terminating the contract too? Are you really okay with that?" Mr. Miller said this with a smug smile. I'd heard he had strong social ties and a wide network of connections. Maybe he was planning to block us from making deals with other companies. But I wasn't about to be intimidated by something like that. Even if he tried to interfere, there were plenty of companies that trusted and wanted to work with us. And if, by any chance, his actions did cause us to lose partners, I could still reach out to my overseas contacts and find new options. It might take more time and cost more, but I had alternatives. And I was sure Mr. Miller knew that too. After all, it was his company that kept coming to us, asking for a deal. He just said what he said to try to gain the upper hand. "Feel free to do whatever you want, but just know I've got plans of my own." "Plans? What do you mean by that?" "You'll find out soon enough." Right after I said that, a familiar figure stepped into the president's room. It was Sarah. She was wearing heavier makeup than usual, her cheeks slightly flushed. She looked at Mr. Miller with a shy, bashful expression. "Oh, it was you who arrived first. Please come in. I heard Mr. Miller is getting divorced. Is that true? You're really going to marry me, right?" "Hey, what are you saying all of a sudden?" "Marry you." Mr. Miller was clearly flustered as Sarah suddenly clung to him. In truth, I had gotten Sarah's contact info from Anna and sent her a certain message. I told her that Mr. Miller wanted to marry her and asked her to come at a specific time. I also added that I would be there as a witness to the conversation. Of course, there was no such thing as a proposal. I just figured she wouldn't come otherwise. After everything that happened, she likely wouldn't want to face me. Sure enough, when I hinted that it was about Mr. Miller, she immediately agreed. And now, here she was, standing in front of me just as planned. But a few minutes later, another person stepped into the office and both Mr. Miller and Sarah's eyes widened. It was Mr. Miller's daughter, Jessica. Jessica, 24 years old, was close in age to Anna, and they were apparently good friends. She had joined the company through her father's connections and worked in the development department. She was known to be very capable and highly trusted by her colleagues. She was even seen as a future successor to the company, and Mr. Miller adored her as his only daughter. That's exactly why I decided to call Jessica. Mr. Miller wouldn't back down, no matter what I said, but Jessica would be his weak spot. And now that she had arrived, he couldn't hide his shock. "Jessica, why are you here?" "Anna told me. She said you were having an affair. I couldn't believe it, so I came to see for myself. But I never thought it would actually be true." "No, you've got it wrong. Sarah just hugged me on her own." Jessica, having just seen them together, looked at him with disgust. "Actually, after Mr. Miller and Sarah had left our house yesterday, Anna told me that she and Jessica were close. Until then, Anna had been hesitant to speak up out of concern. But once she made the decision to quit, she told Jessica everything. And I arranged for Jessica to come at the same time Sarah would arrive. I never thought things would go this perfectly. I used to respect you, Dad, but I can't believe you'd do something like this. I'm going to tell Mom everything, and I don't want anything to do with you anymore." "Wait, please. Let me explain. It's all a misunderstanding. I'm not cheating. I'm not divorcing your mother either." "Wait, does that mean you were just playing with me?" "I put up with everything because I truly believed I was going to marry you, Mr. Miller." Jessica's sudden arrival threw the entire situation into chaos. She had already been struggling with being excluded by a colleague and even discovered her boyfriend had been cheating. That's why she couldn't tolerate what her father had done. Anna and I knew about her struggles, so we hesitated at first to reveal the truth. But in the end, this was the only way to stop Mr. Miller and Sarah from going any further. That's why we decided Anna should tell Jessica everything. We knew it might hurt her, at least for a while. But even worse would be letting her continue interacting with them without knowing the truth. At first, she had been shocked, but she seemed to understand where we were coming from. If Mr. Anderson and Anna hadn't told me, I would have never known. I never imagined you were such a disgusting person. Disgusting? What are you talking about? Our love is pure. It's your mother who's getting in the way of us. Sarah, just stop talking for a minute. I don't love you. You're the one who approached me for fun in the first place. It seemed that Sarah had been the one who initiated the relationship. Back then, she was dissatisfied with her fans and began getting close to Mr. Miller. Of course, Mr. Miller wasn't completely innocent. Either he went along with her proposal. They would go on dates several times a week and hold secret meetings in the office. They enjoyed the thrill, believing it wouldn't go any further. Since both of them already had partners, they agreed to keep things from crossing the line. That was the promise they made. But it seemed that Sarah gradually started to take the relationship seriously. And from what I was hearing, she still had a fence even now. Faced with such an unbelievable situation, I couldn't help but ask, you have a fence, so why do you want to marry Mr. Miller? Don't you think it's better to love your fence sincerely? That's obvious because Mr. Miller has money. My fence is just a regular office worker, you know? You're destroying a family over that? And on top of it, harassing Anna. Don't you feel even a little guilty? I couldn't contain my anger toward Sarah's selfish actions. Of course, Mr. Miller was also at fault for being manipulated by someone like her. But if Sarah hadn't been thinking the way she did, Anna and Jessica wouldn't have had to suffer. Still, despite my heartfelt words, Sarah just responded with a smirk. Of course, I don't feel guilty. That's how the world works, full of people like me. Don't lump the rest of us in with people like you. You're the one who deserves to be punished. And with all the evidence we have, it's only a matter of time before you're sued. Go ahead. I'll have Mr. Miller cover everything, so I don't care. I've got nothing to worry about. But Mr. Miller's expression was odd. His eyes were darting around, and it looked like he had something to say. Mr. Miller, is there something you want to say? I don't want to divorce my wife. I want to make things right with Jessica. Jessica, what should I do? First, cut ties with that woman. Don't cover her settlement fees. Then talk to Mom properly and apologize to Anna. Jessica spoke calmly, and Mr. Miller nodded. But there was no way Sarah would stay quiet after hearing that. What are you saying? You're supposed to be on my side, Mr. Miller. No, what matters to me is my family, not you. Mr. Anderson, I was wrong. I accept the termination of our contract. I see. I'm glad you understand. After that, Mr. Miller and I quietly went through the contract cancellation procedure. Sarah kept yelling the whole time, but we both completely ignored her. Jessica sat silently, watching until everything was finished. Well, I'll be going now. Jessica, I'm sorry for what you had to go through. No, it's my father's fault. I'm sorry it ended up like this. I wish you continued success. Thank you. You take care too, Jessica. Then I left the president's office. Since then, Anna has been going to work without any issues. Apparently, Mr. Miller came to her in person afterward to apologize. He promised her that nothing like this would ever happen again. Thanks to Jessica's influence, Sarah was demoted. She was sent to a rural branch office, but what followed was a disaster. She told her fans about the transfer, but couldn't explain the reason. Of course, she couldn't say it was because of an affair with Mr. Miller and harassing a subordinate. So she made up an excuse, but her fans grew suspicious. Eventually, he called Mr. Miller directly to confront him. That's when the affair and harassment came to light. Initially, her fans had planned to follow Sarah to her new post, but after hearing the real reason for her transfer, he changed his mind. After Sarah was transferred to the countryside, her fiancé sent her a message ending the engagement. Of course, having been cast aside by Mr. Miller, she didn't want to be abandoned by her fiancé too. She tried desperately to convince him to reconsider, but he wouldn't hear a word of it. And so, at 32 years old, Sarah found herself single and without a boyfriend. But things got even more interesting from there. Sarah had claimed that her fiancé was just an average office worker around her age. However, after their breakup, it was revealed that he was actually the owner of 2 companies. Apparently, he had pretended to be a regular employee to ward off women who were only after his money. He had been drawn to Sarah, thinking she accepted him for who he was. But once he realized she was just another woman obsessed with wealth, he was completely disillusioned. After finding out her ex-fiancé was actually a business owner, Sarah quit her job and barged into his home, uninvited. He hadn't responded to her messages, so she thought the only option left was to confront him directly. However, his apartment had already been vacated, and no one knew where he had moved. On top of that, since she quit her job on impulse, she had nowhere to live. She had relied financially on both Mr. Miller and her fiancé, and had no savings left. With nowhere else to go, she returned to her family home. Soon after, a certified letter arrived from Mr. Miller's wife. Her parents were furious when they saw it and urged her to pay immediately. But Sarah had no means to pay, so her parents ended up covering the settlement on her behalf. In return, Sarah was forced to do household chores day and night as repayment. The reason I know all of this is because Sarah apparently still contacts Anna. She sends messages filled with regret and her current struggles. Now that she's lost everything and hit rock bottom, she seems to think that apologizing will somehow make things right. But it's far too late for that. Had she realized this sooner, maybe things wouldn't have turned out so badly. Now, she'll likely spend the next few years paying back the settlement her parents covered. Sarah had always been fixated on marriage, but by then, she'll be in her late 30s. Can a woman with a personality like hers really find someone to marry at that age? Now, as for Mr. Miller, having changed his ways, he reportedly confessed everything about the affair to his wife. Naturally, she was furious and demanded settlement money from him as well. Wanting to win his family back, he paid the full amount in one lump sum. His wife and daughter Jessica had told him that if he paid the settlement, they would reconsider. However, in truth, his wife had no intention of taking him back, and Jessica had grown to completely despise him. So, after receiving the money, they left the house and submitted divorce papers. Of course, Mr. Miller pleaded with the two not to leave him, but they told him that if he didn't want a divorce, he should take it to court. With the affair backed by solid evidence, Mr. Miller had no chance of winning. And to make matters worse, he didn't have the funds to hire a lawyer. In the end, he had no choice but to quietly accept the divorce. After leaving him, his wife and Jessica each started living on their own. But they chose to live close enough to visit each other on foot, and they regularly have dinner together. Left completely alone, Mr. Miller reportedly lost all motivation to work. He still shows up to the office, but it's like the life has been drained out of him. A few months later, one of Mr. Miller's relatives showed up at the company. Apparently, the relative also runs a business and had come out of concern after hearing about his condition. Judging that the current situation was unsustainable, the family decided that the company should be handed over. Surprisingly, Mr. Miller didn't resist at all. He agreed without hesitation. Now, both Anna and Jessica work under the new president, Mr. Robinson. Mr. Robinson is said to be a kind and open-minded leader who listens to his employees. Anna often says the company feels like a second home now. Not long ago, Anna used to look gloomy, but now she talks happily about work, which puts my mind at ease. Mr. Miller, who lost his position as president, is now just David. He lives alone in solitude. Because the house was sold off during the asset division, he now lives in a small apartment. But for someone like David, who has no job, no money, and no family, each day must feel like agony. I've heard he spends his afternoons in the park, sipping cheap liquor while watching children play. At night, he drinks again at home while watching TV. How do I know all this? It's because he apparently shared his regrets with Mr. Robinson, the new company president. From Mr. Robinson, the story reached Jessica, and from Jessica, it made its way to Anna, and finally to me. David did try to change in the end, but just like Sarah, he realized it far too late. You can't hurt people and expect to walk away unharmed. In the end, David probably never understood the seriousness of what he had done. He must have thought that if he just apologized, everything would be forgiven, that things would settle down eventually. It's exactly that way of thinking that led his family to abandon him. And then the worst happened just recently. There was a disturbance in the park that led to a police report. The cause of it? David himself. Apparently, a parent in the park became alarmed by a man drinking in the middle of the day while watching children and called the police. Of course, David insisted he hadn't done anything wrong and that he had no bad intentions. But the officer who saw him judged him guilty based on appearance alone and took him in. Later, his relative, Mr. Robinson, came to pick him up, and the matter was settled quietly. It was then that David finally realized what it felt like to be treated unfairly. He said he wanted to apologize to Anna again, but both she and I refused. We had Mr. Robinson inform him that if he tried to make contact again, we would go to the police or consult a lawyer. What I've come to understand through all of this is that relationships with people must be treated with care, especially with those who require trust like lovers or family. No matter how much trust you've built, it can all collapse in an instant. Even one act of dishonesty can cause people to question your entire character. And no matter how much you regret it afterward, once it's broken, that relationship will never return to what it once was. I also learned that prioritizing greed above all else leads only to misery. In Sarah's case, her greed caused her to lose everything. If she had stayed loyal to her fans instead of having an affair with David, she might have been married and enjoying a peaceful life as a homemaker by now. And I later found out something else. Part of the reason Sarah harassed Anna was out of jealousy. Apparently, some of the men at work had said Anna was cute. Until then, Sarah had always been the one everyone called the most beautiful, but after she transferred into Anna's department, no one paid Sarah any attention. That, combined with the frustration of being caught in an affair, led her to take it out on Anna. When I heard that, I honestly wanted to yell at Sarah all over again. But Anna, being more mature than me, said she was already over it. In the end, Anna didn't quit her job and is still working in administration. She says it's plain work, but I don't think so. Admin staff are incredibly important to the sales team. They catch things that salespeople overlook, and they often take on tasks that others can't manage. Apparently, Anna handles those kinds of responsibilities too. She plans to keep working, and she truly shines when she talks about it. Sure, I was miserable back then, but now I'm really happy. I've got a wonderful family, friends, and even a boyfriend. So, you finally got yourself a boyfriend, huh? I guess your wedding day isn't far off. Just give me a heads up. I'm not mentally prepared yet. Oh, come on, we just started dating. I'm only 25, you know. Marriage is still a ways off. You always get ahead of yourself, Dad. I remember having that conversation with Anna not too long ago. But now, here I am at a wedding venue. Today is Anna's wedding day. Just 2 months after that talk, her fiancé came to visit and formally introduced himself. He's a kind, thoughtful man who clearly cares deeply for Anna. To be honest, I always wanted to say, "You're not taking my daughter." But he was such a wonderful young man that I couldn't even bring myself to say it. He's the same age as Anna, the former classmate she reunited with at a school reunion. At 25, he doesn't earn much yet, but he started saving up the moment they began dating, already thinking about marriage. And during his formal visit to greet us about the marriage, I was once again convinced Anna really is my daughter. Because I too was lucky enough to find an incredible partner in my wife. Of course, great people attract other great people, but it takes the right perspective and judgment to recognize and hold on to someone like that. Then finally, Anna appeared in her wedding dress. I was to walk her down the aisle, but my vision blurred with tears. As I walked, wiping my eyes with a handkerchief, I heard soft laughter from the guests. I never thought I'd show such an embarrassing side of myself. When I reached the groom and was about to let go of Anna's hand, she spoke to me. "Dad, thank you for protecting me. It's because of what happened back then that I am who I am today. I truly believe I became a strong person because of you." "Yeah, you really are strong, Anna. There'll be more challenges ahead, but make sure to walk side by side with your partner and support each other." "Of course I will. I'm your daughter and mom's too. I've been watching you both since I was little. I know exactly what to do." With those words, Anna gently let go of my hand and stepped forward. She looked like an angel as she walked up to the stage. As I watched her begin this new journey, I couldn't help but reflect on everything that had happened. And just like I told Anna, I know there are still many trials ahead for me too. I'm sure I'll question myself time and again, wondering if the choices I've made were right. But I have Anna, my wife, my friends, and my employees. When I lose my way, they'll be there to reach out and support me. That's why I have to remain sincere always. I must never act foolishly like David or Sarah. And if I ever meet someone who's lost or struggling, I want to be the kind of person who reaches out a helping hand.